Hello and welcome to our Facebook Live for part two. Last week we started our series of how stress and anxiety can cause excess weight and make you exhausted and cause distress as far as your digestive distress and many other things. And then we're going to provide you with some simple solutions to eliminate it. So my name is Joann Lysiak, and I am the Healthy Lifestyle and Life Transformation Coach and Empower Coaching Network. And what I really love to do is I love to teach people how to care for their mind and body by living a healthy lifestyle. And what I'd like to do with them is to really get to the core of what's holding them back, so that way they can live their aspirations and have greater happiness and fulfillment in their life. So today I'm excited to do the Facebook Live with Yvette Rose. So Yvette, if you would say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Yvette Rose here, and similar to Joann, I'm a wellness coach, a lifestyle coach, and I work with clients. I would say that what I do is I educate you. Mostly I work with women. I educate women in understanding their bodies and understanding how food influences their moods and how we can shift some of the rituals that they have in their lives so that they have better hormonal balances, better management of stress, and definitely less anxiety. I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, we had a really fun Facebook Live last week. So we're going to maybe share some of the highlights of it. We've got people live today. So if you could share with us your name, where you're from, if you have any questions, anything specific you want us to talk about, we would love to interact with you. Oh, so here's Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for being here. So give us a shout out as far as your name and where you're from and any kind of information you want us to share with you. But last week we had a really interesting Facebook Live. We kind of went in a couple different places and really shared some interesting information. We talked about your thoughts and how your thoughts impact stress and create stress. We talked about your subconscious beliefs. I was talking about that and how that really impacts you as well. So I want to share just a little bit about that. This is something that I really learned about 6 years ago, because as I was really working on my own health, because I had some extreme health challenges, I had my own jewelry business at the time, and I had some really severe health challenges. So I had to figure out what was going on. And so I went down what I call the rabbit hole to find the solution as to what was going on and also the remedies for it. And what I thought was going to be just mostly diet ended up being way beyond diet. And one of the things that I learned was that your subconscious beliefs create patterns, and it kind of takes over, and you kind of recreate these patterns time and time again. So for instance, I was thinking about my life and how I had a lot of stress when I was in grammar school. It was like, stressful to go to school because the teachers, the nuns were pretty mean. And so I was always under stress. And so consequently, I have that in me from my subconscious beliefs. And so I chose fields that were high stress. Like right out of college, my dream job was to work for the #1 cosmetics company that was based in New York. And it was super high stress. It was so fast paced. And then I went into another company that was a bit slower paced, but I was a public speaker. So I put myself out there, which was another stressful position, to be a public speaker and trainer. And then after that, I created my own jewelry company in fashion, which was, again, crazy stressful. So I kept repeating the pattern by doing the same thing that I was used to that I love, but it also created a lot of stress for me. So since that time, I really became very zen and chill, and I changed from my type A personality. But it took a lot of focus and work to change that, so that I could really have more peace in my life and not repeat those same patterns with the same beliefs that go on, because those beliefs actually causes you to be sick, to be honest. It's acidic to the body. So negative thoughts are acidic to the body. When you go into this fight or flight, doing things that are scary to you, that are fearful to you, you actually weaken your body. So when coaches say go through it and do it, I kind of cringe because I know that it's weakening your system and it's causing more stress and duress. And that's why a lot of people get sick when they put themselves in those positions. So really the best thing to do is to learn a way to release it, just like get rid of it. And so I do a technique.
Go ahead. You want to talk about it? I wanted to share my point of view on what you just said. I think it's really, I think what the reason why Joann and I realized that we work together is that we have two different ways of getting you to achieve the same health and happiness. And when you just said what you said, I also think that there's a personality type that works best under stress. There's a personality type that when, that personality type is the person that waits to the last minute to get a project done, and the project is going to be kick-ass because they really just focus and zoom in. And that's me. And I have a few clients like that. I happen to attract sort of that, what you said, that type A client. And so I think that there is, in my point of view, that there is just managing that stress, right? Knowing that your body had gone into that fight or flight syndrome, and that it can take a few days in order for you to get back to normal. So if you don't, after you go into that fight or flight and you went in there and you put that fight in, being able to figure out something else that you can do to get to sort of ease the stress that you put your body under. And it can't be like one stress after the other, because that, in my point of view, that's what brings disease. It's like if you have this continuous road of stress. But stress, it doesn't need to be a terrible thing.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't, as long as you know how to manage it and you're aware. But the thing is that I don't think people are aware of the subconscious beliefs that they have, that this program and pattern keeps happening. And so they do the same thing because they have triggers. And the triggers are people, it's a situation, an experience, it's sounds that can trigger you. When you recall a sound that set you off before when you were, a child, and it has a habit of doing the same thing, and then you create the same habits as well. But if you can really understand that and get a handle on that and learn techniques to release it, you're much better off. I was reading quite a few books on this. I'm really fascinated with the mind and the power of your brain. And so I was reading a book by, he's actually a biologist, and he wrote the book, The Biology of Belief. And he basically says that, Bruce Lipton, that it's important for you to get a handle on this is not to just keep going through the wall. That's not the solution. But the solution is that you let them go, you release them. And he said, in his opinion, you really have to release them. So when I was hearing all of this, as well as my mentors, that was it. I was in. I changed what I was doing for wellness, and I started going, okay, I'm clearing programs and beliefs and blocks on people, because that's going to have the most profound effect on them. Because what's stopping them from doing the protocols to be healthy or the lifestyle changes is their subconscious beliefs. And so I saw that all the time, that people would want to make these changes and they might have invested in the money, but then they didn't invest in the energy part of it because they had their blocks holding them back. Yeah, and so that was the big aha for me.
What was so before I cut you off and gave my point of view, you were about to share a technique. You said the word technique, and I cut you off right before you went into it.
Oh yeah, no, that's okay. It's an energetic technique. I actually do work with energy, so I consider myself an energy worker. And it's an energetic technique that I'm a applied kinesiologist, so I test to see what it is. I know it sounds a little odd, but I test energetically to find what the programs are and what the cause is. And then we just release it. They don't relive it. We just let it go. And it's an energetic technique with breathing, with breath work. And it just just let it go. I've done some other techniques. I've done techniques where physically I'm with them, and so I'm not saying that I put my hands on them, but I kind of do apply kinesiology with them one-on-one with me. But I don't do those techniques anymore because I just feel that I have more reach when I'm working remote. So the technique that I use is something that really kind of came to me, and how to use it and work with people. So I can work with people on the phone. I can work in groups with people. And I have to tell you, the miracles that happen are absolutely astonishing.
Can you share
And
an example of something that happened that you just...
yeah, I mean, I have tons of them. It's like hard for me to pick, but well, two that are really profound. There was a woman that I worked with, one of my clients, who her sister died when she was a teenager. And so since that time, every time she thought of her sister, she would break down in tears and was hysterical. And I had met her, and this was 40 years later. When she was telling me the story of her sister, all she did was start the story. And I didn't want to hear the story because I don't like when people have to say the story because it puts them through that again. But she started just talking about her sister, and she started crying. And it was very emotional for her. And I said to her, I can help you. I can help you get through this. So she started working with me. And on our second appointment, she no longer was crying when she thought of her sister. On our fourth appointment, she was actually happy. She thought of her sister in happiness. That was one.
You know what? You know what's interesting? I was with a friend like 2 weeks ago, and I don't know if I shared this, but this is so not her personality type. She's a super strong, always laughing, super high energy woman, and she's going through, she keeps getting beat down. And we talk about stress. She's got stress from finances, from work, from managing children, from managing a divorce, all of the stresses that are coming in. And every time she went to speak, tears were coming down her eyes. And then she started saying how she just finds herself in this constant state of crying. And what I thought about from all that I've been studying, especially about your hormones and your fight or flight, is that her nervous system is telling her that she's in danger because her stress level is so heightened that it can't tell the difference between being happy or sad, and so she's these tears, and what I felt those tears were coming from. They were coming from it was a message, a sort of a message that was coming to her body that wasn't really true. And when you say that fight or flight, it's like that trauma, right? That comes into our bodies, and our bodies think that it's still in that place. It's still in that state of danger, or still in that state of sadness. And so it's like getting that energy. And I love that you said that, after day 4, she can tell the story without those tons of tears coming down, because as you heal, you are no longer, the story is no longer you. You're not so attached to the story. It's not physically impacting you anymore. You're able to tell the story from a space of clarity, just from a space of this was part of something that happened in my life, and it's no longer affecting who I am in this present day. It's just, it gave me a foundation. It gave me some strength. It gave me whatever, some compassion, whatever you needed to get from this situation. I feel like in my life, in the way I see things happening around me, you sort of not detach. Well, yeah, you detach from it. You can understand, like, this is just part of the story of your life. This is part of your journey, and for whatever reason, some of it has to be really dark, and some of it can be really beautiful and fantastic. But they're all part of your story that builds you. And if you believe, and I do believe, that you were brought here made from love, then you can believe that even though those stories seem really dark, have faith that is just one of the things that you needed to do in order for you to keep rising.
Yeah, it's It is. It's really one. My mentors, Dr. Mortar, said this, and this just would send chills up my spine. And he says that things don't happen to you; they happen for you. They happen for you. So it's a gift because when you look at it and you have the awareness, you don't blame yourself. You don't blame the other person. It was an agreement that you had before you came here, and this person is working with you so that you can learn the lesson. When you come from a place though where you think something happened to you because you're bad or you're unlucky, then you keep creating it again and again and again. You know, you just keep getting the same kind of an experience, maybe with different people. So if you can really look at it and detach yourself from it with no blame or judgment, then you're at a good place. So sometimes we're like, crazy things can go wrong, you know, whether it's losing a bunch of money with a bad investment or, you know, something happens, and I'm calm because I understand. I'm thinking, okay, so let me see what's going on and how did I create this and what's my lesson and how can I get through this, and knowing that something is going to happen that's for you. So there's a good lesson, and there's something around the corner that will be amazing for you.
That is so empowering, you know.
It is.
Yeah. Thank you, Selena.
Yeah, you know, it is, because when you realize that you created it and you're 100% responsible for everything in your life, you created it, it is empowering. Because if you created it and it wasn't what you want, then you can do something different to get the results that you want. And you have to change and do something different.
Just to be just again, my point of view on that, I don't necessarily believe that we created it, because as children, you know, we can be children of abuse, and we didn't create that circumstance for us, right? That circumstance showed up in our lives, and we're powerless when we're children. And so then, you know, we grow up having to rebuild our trust and having to understand relationships and understand what it, you know, just understand what self-love means, understand confidence and self-esteem. It's like, so as you become an adult, you can find yourself being in this constant state of victim of because that's what you were when you were a child, and you were that victim, and you were in a circumstance that you really were powerless. And if you go into life not figuring out that you didn't deserve what happened to you, that you need that you have to sort of, you have to reinvent yourself. I think you have to reconnect with yourself. It's like, who am I outside of the abuse? Who am I outside of those negative thoughts? Like, who am I? And, you know, when we find ourselves in stressful situations, I have a client who has a really turbulent relationship with her boss, and working with her and understanding to empower her and realize that she's in a contract, so it's not like she can just walk away from this situation. How can you coexist in a situation like that? How can you be in a hostile work environment where you have a contract agreement with this company, and if you walk away, then you're liable for a whole lot of money? You know, sometimes we can walk into a conference room and we meet with someone, and what they appear to be is not who they become after that contract is signed. And so then you're in this stressful situation. And so how can we, you know, Joann, I want to hear what you think. How can we help someone who's in this hostile work environment and they really can't walk away from it? They just need to figure out how to exist in it. What are some of the strategies that you would say someone like that would have?
Yeah, you know, when you're working with different people, relationships are one of the biggest ways for you to learn, and for you to learn your lessons and your experiences in this lifetime. And relationships are tricky because there are triggers. family members have triggers with each other. I know my sister and we get along really great, but boy, sometimes, she'll hit the trigger and I'll hit the trigger. And then I catch myself and I said, okay, that is a program, and then we can get through it because we're like, okay, let's not go down that path and repeat that. That's a program. But when it's, your boss, and the best thing to do, the empowering thing to do is to, again, what can you learn? It's not, they're a mirror. They're a mirror. There's a great book out there, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And it's pretty deep and pretty heavy. But basically, people come into your life and they are mirrors. What do you see? Sometimes it's a reflection of you. Sometimes it's the opposite of you, but it's something that you're avoiding within you. So you can kind of look at that relationship and what is it about that person? But one exercise that I was just working with a client yesterday, and this was the exercise we were talking about. And if you have a conflict with someone, what you can do is you can make a piece of paper list and you can find the gold. We call this find the gold, finding the gold. When you're mining gold, you have to go through a lot of dirt, but you're not focused on the dirt. You're looking at the gold. You're looking for those golden nuggets. So use that same experience when you're working with people. Don't look at the dirt. Don't look at the bad things that make you upset, but find the good things. Find what you really appreciate in that person. And when you can do that, that kind of diffuses everything because there is something that is good for you in that relationship. There's some experience for you to learn that is going to make a huge difference in your life. So if you can just look at that person and find the gold and then make a whole list of all these things about this person, and then you're looking at that person in a different light. Don't focus on the things that aren't working right. Don't focus on the things that you're not in agreement with. Focus on the things that you are in agreement with, that you do like about this person. And that's a really great exercise, finding the gold. That's what I share with my clients all the time. It really helps relationships. That's a good one. And the other exercise that I like to also tell them about is the understanding game. Sometimes we think that people did things to us. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. You think, oh, they cut me off in traffic. They did this to me. But what if you're playing the understanding game? And what if that person had an emergency and had to get home because his wife called him and said, one of the kids are really sick. We're going to the hospital. And he had to drive like that and rush through and cut people off and go ahead of them because he was going to the hospital. Because we don't really know. And we tend to think that they did something to us. But if we play the understanding game. So that's another great one that I like to do is take yourself out of it emotionally. Detach emotionally. That's a big one too. That's like number 3. Detach emotionally. Don't put emotion on it. Don't buy into the emotion on it. And then you're not emotionally attached and charged and triggered. And then it's just an experience. And they're going through something too, because they have stuff too. We all have stuff. And so if you just kind of understand everybody has stuff, it's not about me. They've got something going on and they're responding based on their beliefs and their subconscious programs as well. Nobody ever really does anything intentionally. Like they don't really hurt you intentionally. It's about them. They've got this stuff going on and they do things because they have this stuff.
Sarah, I did a presentation today for my client on health hormones and you and there's a new study that showed 62% of the women that had high stress lifestyles, 62% of women that got breast cancer had high stress lifestyles. 62% of women that had cancer had high stress lifestyles. When we think of stress, understand, like it's not just a vocal, right? Like if you think of stress, there's a whole body experience that's happening, right? Your armpits might get sweaty, your heart might start beating, your head might start hurting, your hands are shaking. There's a whole body experience. Well, that whole body experience is caused by hormones inside of your body. There's all these nerves and neurons that's telling your brain there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And that stress, so let's say that stress is that you're in a horrible marriage, or let's say that stress is you have financial debt. You know, that stress doesn't go away, right? You wake up and you still have that financial debt. Or that marriage that you're in, you're still in that marriage and you're committed to it. You have children, you have this partnership. So that constant stress that you're not finding methods to try to manage is what makes you sick. That is the stress that makes you sick. And that's the stress that makes you fluctuate in your weight. And that's the stress that makes you feel like you need to eat sugar or you need to drink caffeine. And I also read having coffee, especially, coffee in the morning, kickstarts your hormones in the wrong direction. So your insulin actually gets heightened. And I'm not sure if it's because we consume processed coffee. We consume coffee that isn't like organic, clean coffee beans, because I do believe that coffee beans are really healthy for the body, and we spoke about this last week. But the study showed that people who started their days with coffee and drank more than 1 cup of coffee a day spiked their insulin levels and caused their bodies to react in a way where they thought that they were still hungry and they would eat more. So, and not necessarily more good foods. It would trigger them to eat French fries and sugary foods and processed foods. But so when Joann and I are talking about stress, what we mean is that stress that you're not letting go. Because I was stressed about doing this Facebook Live today. And Joann, were you a little stressed over it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, because it's a technological thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But then here we are, and now this stress doesn't consume us anymore, right? Because now we've experienced it. Whatever happens, we surrender the outcome, and we walk away and we go to sleep with a little bit of excitement that we showed up for this again, that we were able to inspire, that we were able to connect, that we were able to share. Then that stress is gone. But that stress wave we bring on, we don't like our jobs and we're going to that job every day. We don't like, again, your finances, those kinds of stresses. I think that's what Joann and I really are talking about when we talk about that stress. That's the stress that we need to figure out techniques to help you manage it.
Yes, those are the ones we're talking about. And I just want to give a shout out to the people here. So hi, Selena and Keith. Good to have you here, Keith. Yes, go look for the gold. Awesome exercise. Yeah, and here's the thing. When you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different response, that's the definition of insanity. And so that's what people do. They expect that if they keep doing it like Groundhog Day, Bill Murray was doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different response. And then finally he got it right after how many times. But it's, if you really hate your job, you really are not helping yourself by being in that job. Find another job. In relationships, if you're with a spouse and it's not working and it's really impacting you, it's time to make a decision. What are you going to do to change it? Because being in that situation is making you sick. When I work with my clients, automatically when I'm asking them, what is your happiness factor on a scale of 1 to 10? The lower the happiness, the sicker they are. Always, just always that way. Because when you're not happy, when you have all these negative emotions, you're at a low vibration and you are not functioning to your optimal performance. Your organs and glands are not functioning at the optimal performance. It is slowly breaking down. We talked about, and it's science. It's science. And we talked about how stress and anxiety causes excess weight and exhaustion. The reason being is, think of it this way. You're on a treadmill and you're constantly running at a high speed. When you're in flight or fight, how long would it take before your body gets so exhausted? By you reliving those situations that bring you so much pain and stress. You are on that treadmill and you're going full force, and your body is starting to break down. It's starting to get exhausted. When you don't feed yourself enough nutrition, I'm not talking, food that we have that's processed. I'm talking nutrition. That's stressing your body. That's causing excess weight when you're not eating enough. The stress in combination with your habits, your lifestyle, is creating more exhaustion, more excess weight, more acidity in your body. Your body is, the pH is acid versus alkaline every time you're stressed. And if you're in that constant state of repeating those patterns and being so stressed out, you are exhausting your body. The number one cause of illness is stress. It's exhaustion. Now, you may think, well, I'm not tired. I'm talking about your body is physically exhausted. You're not feeding your cells. You are exhausting yourself. And then it starts breaking down.
Can I give you an example of that? I know that when I was running my business and trying to manage my household at the same time, I remember they used to call me the Energizer Bunny because I would just go, 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 go. And then there would be days where I'd say, I just want to get a cold. Like, I just want to get sick because my body was running in adrenaline, right? And so it's just like, it's going and going. And I was capable of like sleep very little, and I was capable to wake up and I'd run, I lived by the West Side Highway. My company was all the way on 2nd Avenue. So I'd run the West Side Highway, ride the bike over and run back. And I would just go, I just need to get a cold so that I can have an excuse to stop. And then I would get sick. And I would, and that exhaustion, what you're saying, it would take me like 5 days to recover because I just pushed my body to the point, and I mentally knew that the only way, because it was like my adrenaline was so heightened that my body did not even know that it could stop. And I knew that the only way that I would stop is if I got myself sick. So I would pray for a cold so that I can lay down in bed. And that's what happens when your body is in state of fight or flight, of over stress. Your body will keep going. It will keep going. And it'll seem like you're okay, you got this, you're going. What you don't realize is all of these things are causing inflammation inside of your body. They're all still hanging out in there. They didn't disappear. You're not running like this and it's all good. It'll be all good if you start making these rituals to help heal that stuff, to help cleanse that stuff outside of your body. And that's why I know for me, I created a detox program, because we need that sort of reset, that place where we can just take a step back and realign with our truth, with where we are in this present moment.
Yeah. And, when the body is really designed for survival, so it takes a lot of abuse from us. And think about it, think about the food that we have in a grocery store. This week, I actually went to a different grocery store than I normally do because they didn't have it at, the one that I shop is the big one everybody knows about, that's basically clean, organic. So I went to a different store, and I was so surprised to see all the packaged goods there. Now, not to say the other store doesn't have it, but not to the degree. And it was really kind of like overwhelming to see all that and to see people just picking all that stuff up. So if your body is meant to survive, but you're feeding it stuff that's not nutrition, how is it going to keep going? How is it going to go? And when I work with people through, my different programs, and I have a mind-body reset, which is a cleansing ritual for the mind and body, because I teach people your mind is not separate from your body. Your body is not separate from your mind. They're one. And if you can connect both and be present in everything you do and be aware, that's when you can start reducing your tension. That's when you can start reducing your stress and your anxiety, because you have the awareness, and then you have the tools and techniques to make it happen. But it really is a lifestyle that you really need to look at, is what kind of lifestyle are you living? And when you are stressed, and like we talked about what we've taken on, the demands we've taken on with our businesses and such. And I think the reason that I can do what I do is not only have I, gotten a handle on stress, but I've also learned how to care for myself. And I'm consuming like 6 cups of vegetables a day. I'm doing, 2 to 3 juices and smoothies a day. I eat for nutrition. I don't look at my food as carbs, as proteins and fats. I look at it as nutrition. If the way I prepare it is that nutrition, if something, which I don't eat fried foods, but if you're frying something and it's highly heated and it's crispy and burnt, is there any nutrition left in it, that's going to feed your body? No. So how are you getting energy to withstand the lifestyle? Especially, let's talk to entrepreneurs here. Let's talk to, all the entrepreneurs out there. If you're watching this as a replay, entrepreneurs, you know that you have a lot of stress. You know that you have a lot of anxiety creating a business, looking for that new client, getting the payments in. You do. And there's a lot of work to do to get the business up and running. So what are you doing to care for your mind and body and to keep yourself in optimal performance so that you can do everything and have like a great experience, feel great? When I'm doing my juice and my smoothies, I feel so great. I feel great. Now, I have like 8 steps that I say for dynamic health. And there is one that is a challenge for me. There is one. And I am definitely aware of it and, making progress, let's just say. But the other things I'm doing are so good for me. Like I have my morning ritual, that I do 98% of the time. And I do this ritual. I'm mindful. I love to be in silence. I love to be in quiet. I love to be in nature. So I'm doing things. I love to move my body. I could do rebounding. I could ride my bike. I could dance. I could walk. Whatever it is, I could go to the health club and do things. So it's the awareness of what you're doing. But know that if you have a very high-paced lifestyle, and it's not even just entrepreneurs, moms out there and mom entrepreneurs, you've got a lot going on. And so it's really important for you to understand that this stressful lifestyle is impacting you and to be aware of what you can do to really care for your mind and body.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So I think we're ready to close, but I wanted to say that to me, like just the idea of what you said, having the 8 dynamics. Was it 8 dynamic?
8 steps.
8 steps. Sitting down and creating what that is for you is a great start, because the truth is, I've been on this path for 15 years now. Joann, how long have you been on this path? Professionally,
I've been on it for 8 years, but it's been 15 years, 20 years.
Okay, so 15 years. So actually, no, my son is, so 18 years, similar to Joann. We've been on this path. It's taken us that long to know that we wake up to this quietness and know that we have rituals that work for our body type. And, it's important for you to be authentic to you and what works for you. And of course, Joann, if you want to know what her 8 dynamic steps are, reach out to Joann. And if you want to know what my one-day cleanse ritual is, that's what I do to sort of reboot myself. It's a one-day planning thing that I do for, reach out to me. But create something for yourself. Get started on a program for yourself. And if you want to do a 20-minute strategy session, either with Joann or I, reach out to us. It's a free session. we can talk about what your goals are and whether or not we're a good match. But I think that it's really important to get started. The last thing you want, just a quick short story. A really good friend of mine has cancer. She was just diagnosed with cancer, and she called me up. We were talking, and she's ready to change her lifestyle, right? Like no more meat, and I'm going to clean eat. And I don't believe in that. And I don't know, with all due respect to other practitioners, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that you just go, well, that's it. Sugar is out of my life. I'm not doing it anymore. Of course there's moments like alcoholism or, addiction where you have to go, okay, that's it. Can't do it anymore starting now. But when we're changing our lifestyle, like that doesn't just, you can't just go, okay, I'm ready. I'm go. The likeliness that you're going to crash and burn is really high. Like this is something that goes on as you go through your life and you go through different circumstances. Like right now I'm in perimenopause, right? So my body is in need of different nutrients that I wasn't prepared for because it's my first time. So it's like now I have to readjust the way I eat and rethink of what I'm putting into my body in order to help myself. So understanding that there's always going to be different times of your life. Sometimes you're just dealing with a lot of stress. Sometimes you just had a baby, going into menopause, whatever, all of those different circumstances. So if you're interested, reaching out to me or Joann for strategy call, we'd love to talk to you. I hope you find this helpful. I'm sure finding it helpful. I love listening to you, Joann. I think I get inspired every time I hear you speak because I know you're speaking from authenticity. I know that you're speaking from life experience. I know that you also have a lot of education in what you do. And so you truly understand the journey. And I went to Danielle Laporte event last night, and one of the things she said is that she's learned that she no longer tries to teach or guide anyone unless she's gone through the experience herself. And so I know for me, I've gone through experiences to lead me to do what I do for a living, and Joann has shared that she has as well. So reach out. We're here for you, and we'd love to be of service. We'd love to support you on your routes. We don't want you to get the diagnosis of cancer or diabetes or excessive migraines. Living pain-free, living with health and happiness in the forefront is really the optimum goal.
Yeah, as a practitioner, I have seen that people will come to me and they haven't really connected with their mind and body, and they really are just doing autopilot. And they come to me, and for many years they've come to me with serious illness, and it's challenging at that point because then something serious has to be done to change, and they get overwhelmed by it. And I realize from my own experience that it doesn't have to be that way. That's not the right model. We tend to not understand our mind and body, not to connect. We're on autopilot. And the model that we use and we have used is we go to a doctor when we're really sick. That's not a good model because now we're seeing 1 out of 3 people have this disease, 1 out of 2 have this, 1 out of 5 have this. It's skyrocketing, obesity over 60%. And it just makes sense that maybe a better model would be for us to do preventative, for us to learn how to care for our mind and body and learn the rituals, learn what we can do. Because, I had this conversation with someone and I was just saying that sometimes it's challenging to be a practitioner, to be a coach in wellness, because I changed from practitioner mindset and working to now coach. And it's challenging because you want them to heal. You want them to be healthy. And maybe you want it more than they do because they just don't know where to begin and they just aren't really taking the steps because they have their programs and beliefs. And so there's a lot to work on. And they say, well, it's hard. It's hard to change. And I'm going to say, yeah, it's challenging to change because you have to do things differently. You've got to do things differently. That means the mindset's got to change, the action steps have to change, the habits have to change. And it is. However, isn't it hard to be sick? Isn't it hard when you can't really walk? Isn't it hard when you can't do the activities you love because you have so much pain? Isn't it hard when you can't really function properly? That to me is hard. The change, once you get past the initial of doing something different, it actually is easy because your body loves you back. Your body is going to respond and love you back. You know, I do a 3-day challenge. It's a detox. I've changed the name. It's a 3-day detox, but it's a mind and body reset because of the experience that my clients had. That's why I changed it, because it's not a challenge. It's not hard. It's a 3-day mind and body reset. Every single person that went through this was not on this path to be doing really clean, healthy eating. It's 3 to 4 smoothies a day, green smoothies loaded with nutrition. And then there's the mindfulness component of it. And then there's some other detox things, giving up sugar and giving up dairy and giving up flour and alcohol for the 3 to 4 days. Every single person said the same thing. They released anywhere from 3 to 6 pounds. They reset their body. Those were the words they used. They rebooted their body. They got more energy. They felt better. They released the food addictions. They all said the same thing. That's why it's not a 3-day detox. It's a 3-day mind and body reset because of what it does for people. Then they can go forward and maybe go 5 days, or they just integrate it into their life and then they can make the changes. Because if you've done it once, you can do it again. And that's the thing with change. If you've done it once, you can do it again. You've broken free and you tried something different. You did it. And it's easy to do that. So if you would like to make some changes in your life, then I'm going to put up the link, because I'm going to, one of my gifts is a checklist, which has the 5 foods to avoid, because they're toxic to the body and they cause excess weight. And then I'm also going to give you the plan, the 3-day plan, and then one of the smoothie recipes. I will put the link up for you so you can start with that. And if you would like to, you want to get started somewhere but don't know where, then I will put the link for to get a hold of me through my Calendly and schedule an appointment. But you can reach me at Joann, Joann, at empowercoachingnetwork.com and reach out to me and we can schedule a session. But just know that once you get past the change and do it, your body is going to respond and it's going to be going with you and for you. And then you're going to keep going further and further and further because it's one step at a time. It's one step at a time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, like Joann, I have a detox program that I owned a vegan national food delivery company for 8 years, and it was 3 days, 5 days, and 20-day cleanses. And I stopped that company because it's really hard to work in the food industry this time of day. But like Joann, the same kind of results. I mean, everyone that you spoke to, the most common, even when it was only 3 days, it was just, the weight loss, the disconnecting from the addiction of sugar that they had and feeling more energy. Those were all byproducts of doing, detox programs. And there's many different methods and many different ways to do that. And I love that you call yours mind body, Joann. I think that's really, really. I just finished a 14-day cleanse, and I have to tell you, it was really not fun at all. It was really, really difficult. My body shut down totally, I got sick. I had no energy. And I went to the doctor and it turned out I was anemic. And this is what is when you start, and I've been trying really hard to live this plant-based diet, but I don't do tempeh, I don't do soy, I don't do any of those processed proteins. And I was supplementing my body with B complex, but I wasn't giving it iron because I didn't know that I needed to. I eat a lot of greens, and I thought I was getting I didn't think about it, to be honest. But when you're going through perimenopause, the period flow is really, really heavy at times. And that between that and doing the cleanse, it must have just totally burnt my body down. So understanding that cleanses, the 3-day cleanse are nice and safe. Joann's or mine are safe for 3 days. But when you want to do something more, then you want to be able to have somebody monitoring you and helping guide you and support you. So my website is Yvette, YVETTE, Rose, ROSE.com. You can do /contact if you want to connect with me for a strategy call. And I am so grateful, Joann, that you have invited me to do this with you. And I look forward to next week's session. And I think, Joann and I will plan out. Maybe Joann can share some meditation strategies, and I can share some nutrition, some ingredients that you should incorporate and why you should incorporate them. And we can help to give you more support to help you create these rituals to manage the stress, like if you're in a bad marriage or if you're in financial debt, because those things don't just disappear. You need to find ways to sort of manage them. So I look forward to seeing you next week and sharing more with you. Joann, love you.
Me too, because I want to hear about your food business and the foods that you uncover that were healing, because I find that really fascinating, because I'm a foodie.
Yeah, there's I just did this big presentation on the hormones in the body and stress, and it's just fascinating how some of the foods, adaptation foods right now, ingredients are really big, but then, you have the superfoods. And so which one of those, just zooming in on which one of those do we want for stress? Like which one of those will help the internal body manage stress? So that's what we're going to do next week.
Awesome. I'm so excited for that because I love food. Like I said, I've kind of changed my focus in food, but now I'm healthy, pure, tastes amazing kind of foodie. But I want to also thank the people that were here today. Stephen is here, Keith, Selena, Rachel. So thank you for being here. And the people that are listening to the replay, we so appreciate you listening to us, and give us some likes, hearts, share it as well. And just if you have a question, put a question in there and we will come back and we will answer the questions for you. And we so appreciate you for being here, and stay tuned for part 3 next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.